Welcome back, everybody. This is Rodrigo Fonador with another episode of Asheville Real Estate News. Really excited today. Got two guests here in the studio, one returning and one new guest, and it's actually going to be kind of a fun conversation to piggyback off of just some stories that have to do with like getting started, friendships, circles of influences, and how all of those things affect the way you think and kind of just approach life. I know I've had some conversations with Bryce, who's on the show, and he's really pushed me recently, and excited to kind of dig into that about why those conversations are important and then what both of them are doing. So without further ado, help me welcome Goossens to the show and Bryce Robertson. Welcome, guys.
G'day, mate. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Really excited, as I mentioned in the intro, to talk about a little bit about your all's story. Reed, do you mind kind of just starting and give us the 30,000-foot overview of how you got to what you're doing today?
Yeah, wow, 30,000-foot overview. I was trying to keep it as short as possible, but so I'm originally from Australia, obviously, like Bryce. Come from very close to where Bryce is from as well, the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Mm-hmm. Went to the University of Queensland, studied civil engineering. Went across the globe like all Aussies do. Moved to London. I moved to London in 2008 after I graduated, just before the financial crash, and was working on the 2012 Olympic Games, but in 2008 when all the infrastructure was being built. Had a great year there. Then my visa ran out, and then went back. I didn't go back to Australia. At that point, I went and worked on the super yachts in the south of France and worked for Russian billionaires, and I'm sure we can talk a little bit about that. Offline or online, doesn't really matter.
Both, probably.
Yeah. And at that point, I gallivanting around the south of France, I met my now wife, Erica, and she was American. Well, she's American. She happened to... At the period of time where I went back to working on the yachts, I cruised across the Atlantic Ocean on this yacht. It was incredible, from Monaco to Antigua in the Caribbean. Best experience of my entire life. But at that same point, she'd applied for university in Australia. So, cut a long story short, in 2010, I'm back in Aussie, back sitting at my job. She's about to come over to do her master's. And I'm going, I just had this 2 years of incredible awesomeness around the world. And I'm like, what the F? Excuse me, I'll try and keep my language.
Go. Okay.
I can't be sitting in this cubicle for the rest of my life. And it was really like an aha moment of, I need to get out and do more. And I felt like a star athlete on the sitting on the sideline, and picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad and got the bug, and realized that I was in a career, civil engineering, structural engineering, that I was surrounded by developers, and it sort of took the blinders off to say, okay, how do I become these guys? And rather than just designing connections in a floor and beam connection situation, being like, ask them questions and stuff. So had a really good experience with that. But then in 2012, late 2011 to early 2012, I said, screw it, I want to live back in America. Erica had finished her master's degree, and I quit my job and moved halfway across the world. And I think within 2 weeks of being fresh off the boat, I was in New York City masterminding there. And the last 7 years of history, but that's sort of how we got to the United States in the whole introduction. So, yeah.
No, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. So I have a question for both of you all. It seems like, and Bryce, I mean, we'll get to you really quickly. You can kind of chime in a little bit on your story here, but is there, I mean, you all have this book, right? It's 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. And is it a pretty normal thing for Australians to just like go and come back? Or what does that, I mean, why is that such a common theme for you all?
I think Australia's an island,
Yeah.
You're going to leave, you have to fork out a bit of money for a plane ticket. So the Aussies look at that as an opportunity to go pretty big, and Aussies like traveling, and Aussies like having time off anyway. It's a different culture.
Yeah.
I think Australians look at the weekends in a different way than Americans look at it, and holidays and everything like that. And so if you're gonna leave Australia, you're gonna do it in a big way. So most people do it for at least a couple of months. Because it's a massive island, and we don't have the Mexico or anything like that right near us. So, yeah.
And everyone talks the same, right? Like, here in the States, you've got the South, you've got the North, you've got your Boston accents, you've got the Texas accents. It's like a mini Europe in Australia. We're all pretty much the same.
It's like one state or something. It's like the diversity of accents that you'd have in California is about as extreme as it is in the whole of Australia.
Exactly.
I want to go back to the Rich Dad Poor Dad, because that was the same book for me that I was like, whoa, okay, there's like something else out here to start exploring. Do you remember what particularly about that book kind of like was that aha, like, wow?
For me, I think it was, I was very much a black and white brain type. I'm still am, I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, but I wanted control of my life. Like, I came back from traveling, I'm sure Bryce was very similar. It was like, I don't want someone to pay me to live my life, right?
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. Like, I don't know how to do that, but I know giving up my time and having to report to a job and asking, can I get time off every year? I was like, this doesn't feel like, I knew I wanted to be my own boss, but I didn't really know what entrepreneurship meant or what entrepreneur was. And it just was that I could have chosen to invest money in the stock market, but I chose real estate investing because my dad had also invested a little bit of money in real estate. He's a high school teacher, and he always was, get your money working for you. And he was always a guy that said to me, a fool and their money are easily parted. So go out and be educated and go out and learn things. And I just happened to be in a career that kind of was getting me exposed to real estate. So I was like, sure, real estate, let's do it, And that's really, it was just again, Rich Dad Poor Dad and Kiyosaki does a good job of telling you the end goal, but the steps to get there he's useless at, right? And it's sort of like, here's what you need to get to, good luck, go figure it out yourself. And that's sort of the engineer brain in me was like, well, let's go figure it out, so yeah.
As you've been figuring that out, and this is a step, question for both of you, has there been anything that surprised you on that journey as you've been piecing it together? You're like, wow, I would have never expected I needed to have learned this when I set out on it.
I think the first thing was like, I didn't even know any of this was possible. Like, I didn't know it was possible for me.
Right.
And when I first started out, Kiyosaki was your catalyst to make a shift for you. Mine was going to the Millionaire Mind experience with T. Harbecker. And that was learning how to actually change my mindset of how I look towards money and wealth. And that major shift in changing who I am has been like a big component in all of that. And the interesting thing is, you think, all right, most investors in the beginning, they're like, oh, I need to learn all the technical stuff. How do you get deals? How do you put them under contract? How do I talk with contractors? All that kind of stuff. That's the technical things that you'd think you'd need to learn for real estate investing. But a lot of the skills that we've learned and grown along the way is like personal development skills. Communication skills, how to nurture relationships, how to build relationships, and how to be our best self and show up in a different way. So there's actually a lot of things that have translated from success in real estate investing to actually benefit the other parts of our life as well.
100%.
So,
and I'll add that the other thing is, probably looking back, we've had this idea of, we hold on to your money, like it's this precious thing, where the mind shift is, no, it's a tool. It's a tool, it's fluid, it's liquid, it's going to come in and it's going to come out, and you use it to build wealth and true wealth. And, I can't spend that $1,000 on this thing because it's all I've got. Like, your story, Bryce, where you had negative net worth and like $5,000 to your name, but you still went out and did your first deal. I happened to buy my first deal all cash because I'd saved it, right? And that's, now, if I just kept it in the bank and thought, I'm going to get rich by keeping it in the bank, no, I needed to get it working for me. And again, using it as a tool to leverage into bigger and bigger things. So
you've got to take action, and you've got to start taking action now. Like the best time to invest is now, or it's actually yesterday. The second best time is now, and get going. And the interesting thing is like taking action. We got educated, you got educated in the beginning, I got educated, we took action.
Right.
That was actually one of the things to our success. And actually taking action and applying a lot of the rules that T. Harbecker taught me in the beginning actually ended up us getting an endorsement by T. Harbecker years later for our book, which was, coming full circle. And
That's pretty. It's pretty cool. Like the full circle component of it. I've read a couple of his books, or well, not a couple. His main one, the 7 Secrets of
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Yeah, really good book. And so let's talk about that, right? You said like some of the soft skills are super important. Arguably, have been more important than the technical skills, right? And you all met and have come together, and it seems that it's. I mean, arguably, you guys would have still done the same success without knowing each other, right? But I would really be interested to know if you could talk about maybe the benefits or how it's been easier or maybe quicker because you've had the real estate mates and how you've had a core group of people that you've kind of gone on a journey together with.
Yeah, well, it was affectionately called the Aussie Real Estate Mafia originally. We canned that. It didn't really do very well with social media and marketing. But no, the whole idea about where this group came from. I'd interviewed a lot of these guys on my show, and through just a sheer sense of being lonely as an entrepreneur, I wanted to hang out with other Aussies. You know, I was just like, you know, I'm lonely. I want to.
We're here for you, really.
We don't banter. We want to have a drink. You know, and being an entrepreneur can be lonely sometimes. And so it really started out of just a way of keeping connected with other people who had similar values, who had similar upbringings. And I'd met all these people through my show, and I was like, hey guys, I just wrote an email. I was like, you don't know any of these people, but we all should start somehow talking. And we decided to have a monthly call.
Yeah, but there was no agenda in the beginning.
No agenda.
It was just
agenda.
I think we should be getting together.
Yes, I think we should be able to get for at least one beer. And then see what happens from there. So yeah, and then we met up in San Diego. And we had I think it was 10 of us at that stage.
Yeah.
A couple of people have dropped out, but it's just snowballed. We all got along like a house on fire, and yeah, it was great.
We all had a lot of common interests too, and when we first got together in San Diego, all of us, it was like, I realized, man, we've got a lot of value together in this room right here. It's like, wow, you know, because we all come from different asset classes, we have different specialties, some of them cross over, but we're a group of guys that have different skills to bring to the table and the wealth of knowledge in there. And then, like Reed said, we started jumping on conference calls. We were doing, mastermind calls. And the things that came up on those calls, it was like, man, this is pretty exciting. This is really, really cool. We've got a ton of knowledge in the room.
And I don't know about you, but for me, I was just using it as a sounding board, right? I getting on those calls and be like, hey, I've got an issue with one business. You all guys have got active businesses. I'll put my hand up. What the hell?
Well, let's talk about the importance of that, right? Because I think the lonely component of going through this entrepreneurial journey, I think it's sometimes understated. I know for me personally, even people who really care and love you, there's no context for sometimes you're like, well, this chaos is it's really crazy and it's heavy, and they're like, but aren't you doing what you love? And it's like, yes, but there's a deeper component to that. What did you all find when it when you guys started talking that maybe it unlocked or maybe it encouraged, or what was the value of that? What happened?
I think solutions came pretty quickly. It's even started off with some simple things. Maybe someone would shoot out an email or bring something up on one of the calls, and they'd have a problem or they're looking for something, and then just boom, there was 6 different angles of how to approach it, or 6 different answers, or whatever. Yeah. And there's just, when you have people with different experiences and different backgrounds and different skill sets, and you get people in the room, there really is a lot of value to that. And like Reed said, a sounding board. As an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things to bring to the table. There's questions, there's technical things, and I
think it's also just knowing that you're not the only one out there, right? And to your point about families, aren't you doing what you love? They don't have that inner burn and hunger like we in this room do, right? Not the average person does. And that's okay. It's not an issue, but those people that you do, you're trying to seek them out, and you're trying to, the old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Well, let's create a group that we can be the average of. And I think that was kind of the exciting thing at the beginning when we all met up, was shit, we're going to be the average of these 5 awesome dudes.
And then you get excited. You're like, okay, I'm okay with being the average of everybody who's here, and off you all went. That's awesome.
And actually, to be able to talk to people about your successes too, because going back to family and friends and things like that, we can't always share our successes with the level of excitement that we have, because of course we should be excited about the things we're doing. But if we're talking about these things all the time with people who aren't doing these things, maybe they look at it like you're boasting, or it's like, there he goes talking about that thing again. And to be in a room full of people that can share that same excitement, you can actually talk to about it, it's actually a pretty big deal. And
one thing I'll just add, to jump in there, because what you bring up a pretty good point, is in Australia, the culture is that tall poppy syndrome, right? And people are like, shut up, stop talking about yourself. We're here in the States, it's more like, you've done what? How do I do that? Americans are very much more lift you up, where the Australians, and we can all talk to this, because I know we've spoken about this specific point over a beer, is Aussies are like, oh, well, don't get too out over your skis, mate. You know, like, remember where you came from. You know, like, cut you down real quickly.
I don't want you to stand out or like boast or there he goes bragging again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question. Do you think that's an Aussie thing, or do you think that's just something that's coincided because since you've been in the U.S., you've been on a different path, right?
I think it's amplified. I think it's very, very much amplified in Australia. I mean, I'm sure that exists different areas.
Yeah.
And everything, but
I'm just wondering because it's right. You all got to the U.S. and shortly thereafter, you really did a pretty different like path as far as what was normal.
Right.
And just maybe
it is. A lot of people listen to that.
Just super curious. Yeah.
A lot of people, even just the fact that 8 of us are in a room that have this incredible story, and that's what life experience is. It's just a bunch of stories, and that's what this book is. It's a bunch of our stories, and we just happen to have a common interest of real estate investing, and we'd made the pilgrimage to the United States. But to your point, and to probably Bryce can speak to this as well. I was like, I remember when I first moved here, I was like, holy crap, I've just burnt the bridges. I burnt the boats. Like the worst case scenario, if I didn't get a job in New York City as a structural engineer, I'd have to move back to Australia. Like, okay, whoop-de-doo. If that's the worst thing that can happen, then I think I'm going to be okay. And that's where it's like the whole mindset of Aussies, and being particularly this group of Aussies, is that we are okay to throw caution to the wind a little bit, and what we don't know may kill us, but it also may make a massive amounts of success.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that what were you just talking about just then, or the first point there?
The burning the bridges.
Yeah, the burning bridges part. As an immigrant, it doesn't have to be Australian. It's an immigrant. You're an immigrant yourself. In the beginning, I only had a couple of dollars in my pocket. I think when I landed here, I had 2 surfboards, a backpack, and like $3,000 in the bank.
The essentials, of course.
And so
you bum.
I actually didn't even own pants. Like I had shorts, but I didn't have jeans, and I didn't have a jacket or anything because I'd been surfing in South America, and it wasn't really that cold down there. So I didn't rock up with much, but I had to earn money pretty quickly. So it's like, you got to do it. There is no like it'd be the same thing as being a mother that has a couple of children. Like you have to feed your children.
Yeah.
Right.
So being an immigrant and coming over, I think there might be even a little bit more motivation to succeed, because it's like, if I don't, like, that's it. I'm gonna have to go home.
Well, going home's a lot different when you're like flying to a different country versus like driving across the state or staying within your own country. There's a little bit more I don't know if it's drop-off's the right word, but that it's a bigger jump when you're leaving the country because things didn't work out. And well, I know you guys wrote a whole book about coming over. I'm just really curious to know, from just an opportunity standpoint, at what point did you realize that it was like, wow, I can like do anything here in the U.S.? Because I know that that's one thing that I've got, a couple of other friends here who are Colombian as well and in real estate, and we are always just like, wow, like this would not be happening where we're from. When did that sink in, or was there a specific moment when you did a deal or learned something that it was just, wow, land of opportunity, like it's a real thing?
I think, in general, this whole journey, and I'll answer that in a second, but I think in general, the ability of coming on this journey as an entrepreneur is that you start to see blinkers come off everywhere. Like I talked about before, when I was a civil engineer on site, hating my job, but the blinkers come off like, wait, that's a developer just there. Like, how do I become him? Like, and in life and in entrepreneurial journey, it's just about identifying opportunities. So yes, America has maybe more of the ingredients to be more successful than other countries, but you could apply these skill sets that you've learnt in this room, you've learnt anywhere across the world now, and opportunities is abundant, and it's because those blinkers have been removed. And I think that's really important from a 30,000 foot level.
Yeah.
And breaking it down from a real estate point of view, when I first moved here, I was like, oh gosh, you can buy a house for $38,000 and it cash flows on paper, $700 a month. You would not be able to buy that in Australia. That just doesn't exist. And so the whole environment here for borrowing, for lending, for investments is so much different to where we're from, right? And it has reasons for that, and we can talk about that. But from a big picture point of view, it was like the barriers to entry here in the United States was so much lower than where I was from, and that perspective was one of the reasons of the 10,000 miles to the American dream, is that we have a different perspective. We come from a country where it's hard to get lending. There is cap rates that are in the toilet and are compressed, and I've been that way for decades. So buying something for 30, 40, 50,000 bucks to get your feet wet is such a low barrier to entry. Like, well, in Australia, like I remember going to real estate investing courses in Australia, and I was like, I'd have to flip a $300,000-$400,000 house. That's the barrier to entry. Like it's just different ball games, right? So I couldn't get started with less money. I don't know if you have any different experience.
Yeah, so I actually noticed as soon as I got here, like I had to go out and get work straight away. And I was in Southern California, and there's 23 or 25 million people there, which is the same population as the whole of Australia.
Right.
So I'm essentially going, in my mind, I'm like, I am competing against all of Australia right now to go out there and hustle. And then in the beginning, I thought, man, this is going to be a big feat. But once I started going out there and going for it, I was like, why is this so easy? And for someone who was very motivated and driven to go out there and succeed in anything and continuing to do that in real estate and growing from there, I've noticed along the way that so many people in America are kind of mesmerized by television, social media, and all these different things that take up their time, and it gives them the image of living a free and definitely a comfortable lifestyle. And you compare the lifestyle that you can live here in America to other countries. It's a pretty freaking cool lifestyle that people can live here for not too much, but people are living paycheck to paycheck, most people. And for those who want to actually go out and strive, fortunately, America really is the land of opportunities, and it's set up to be a business person, to own your own business, to sell. There's like millions of people. There's like 300 and something million people here to buy your products, that live in houses. There's tons more different real estate markets. I mean, it's just like you can go crazy here in whatever business that you want to go to, and especially in real estate. And there's not too many people actually striving for success, because the main population of America is just sort of living paycheck to paycheck, and maybe they're going out there and buying a flat screen TV and getting a car loan instead of using time and money and energy to go out there and really make a difference. And it's not that difficult to get started, is it? I mean, you just got to make the choice and go out there and do it. But people seem to think, like I thought, well, that's not possible for me, but it's literally possible for anybody.
Right, and it was like, what I tell this story all the time, but I remember when I first rocked up to New York City, I donned on a suit, and I literally had an A4 piece of paper with engineering firms on front and back, and I'd walk into every one of them. And the old saying is, it takes 1 yes to change your life. And I the 3 W2 jobs that I had in the United States since living here, all came not from Indeed.com or all those zip recruiters and throwing your. Yeah. I went and did something different and knocked on doors like, hey, and like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm here for a job. And like, oh, we don't have one. Get out. But it took that one. Yeah. But it took that one. That one didn't work. And I looked at companies which had less than 50 employees because they wouldn't have HR. And HR means that they wouldn't have looked at my resume and said, oh, he didn't go to an American university, screw him. And all of a sudden I got a yes. And that yes was with another expat, right? And then I actually work with all the 3 jobs that I have, with 2 engineering jobs and a developer, were all expats. One was from Russia, one was from Egypt, and the other guy was an Iranian Jewish fella. And it was just like, I tell that story to Americans, and they're like, you did what? You walked into... It was like, yeah, because I needed to stand out. I needed to be more than just a resume online. That's how that yes was going to start, and that I was going to be able to stay in this country for a long period of time. I don't know how you did. It's
funny that you did that, because when I got here, I opened up the phone book, and I literally called 300 companies in 5 days. And on the actual last company that I called, it was one that I'd missed. I couldn't get through to him, and I went back. Just as he was about to hang up, he said, oh no, wait. I can't help you, but I've got someone who maybe could. And that one phone number, after 5 days of calling, ended up getting me a job. But through the process of that, I was calling people, and people were like, well, no, I actually don't have a job for you. I'm actually looking for a job. Can you help me? I'm like, okay, maybe you should be making phone calls. And they're saying, well, there's no work out there. And I found a job within like 5 days. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's always out there.
It is always out there. It's about being different, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about something. You were talking about the blinders coming off. I'm just wondering if, going back to your experience of spending all this time on the yacht with like billionaires, is there, like, did you, like, anything rub off during that 100%. Period of time where you're just like, or did that lifestyle, just being around it so much, make it like feel attainable? Or I'm just wondering.
No, it was the hustle. It actually built the resolve in me to do what I did in New York. So I got that skin, the callus on the hands,
Yeah.
so to speak, from actually working in the south of France. When I rocked up with 800 euros
Yeah.
in my backpack, I was staying at a hostel. My buddy was like, "Hey man, do this course for a week, and you can start coming and working, tax free for these Russian billionaires." And every morning at 5 a.m. I'd wake up and I'd walk the docks across the south of France. "Hey, do you have work? Do you have work? Do you have work? Do you have work? No, no, no." Get that one yes. That one yes got me 100 euros. It got me a feed for the day. I was able to keep living the dream at 23 years of age in the south of France. I didn't get work. I get 2 or 3 days worth of work in a week. The rest of the days I'm having fun on the beach with my mates. All of a sudden, being there for long enough and networking, I was able to get a full-time job on a boat. And from that boat, I was able to experience a life that I was like, not that I experienced a life, but I got to see a lens that these wealthy people experience. Private jets, huge yachts, owning hotels, and like that is a opulent thing that it's great. I don't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
The big takeaway is that if I was that wealthy, I probably wouldn't have a boat. They cost so much bloody money that I wouldn't have one. But the experience of hustling and grinding and having that resolve was actually the biggest thing I took from it. And so,
Did you see any of those attributes in the owners of the boats and the billionaires? Like, did you get to be like, wow, like this guy's working, like his family might be playing, but he's working the whole time? I'm just
look, if you're in that scene, you're on a boat to show off, right? You're swinging between your legs for a reason, right? And that's what it is. Like it's a show off competition.
Gotcha.
It's how big your chest is, and so I didn't get to see the vulnerability side of it, but definitely I've got stories where his wife and kids weren't on board, and his mates would come down from Russia.
Fair enough.
You can connect the two dots. It's a lifestyle that was kind of seedy, and it's awesome. The best experience of my time. I crossed the Atlantic Ocean for crying out loud. Like awesome. I spent 10 days at sea. It gave me an experience that I would never trade for anything. Seeing those people also made me realize that I don't need a yacht to justify what I do. I just enjoy time freedom, and that's probably back to my point of when I got back from traveling. I just enjoyed doing. I could pack my life up in a bag, and be off on the next adventure, like Bryce. Yeah. And that was the freedom that which we both yearned, and that real estate was now. We figured out it was real estate that got it there.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, I know both of you guys have some crazy stories, and like that's really cool to hear. What are you all doing now, right? Like you've gone through, from what I can tell outside looking in, so definitely correct me if I'm wrong, kind of through the hustle building period. You've got a good foundation, and now it's the point where you start being, I'm guessing, a little bit more strategic with what you say yes to, a little bit more, I don't need to worry about the day-to-day or the month-to-month, and you can start doing like the multi-year type of decision-making and just insights to that. I'm just curious to know how that process is going, if that's where you're at, and any points to people who are in that transition or approaching that transition period.
I think where we're at is we're looking to bring people with us. I mean, making this shift in, I can speak for myself, making this shift in my life. I was in the construction industry working on the tools for the first 17 of 20 years. And so I was really essentially in a career that I didn't enjoy for 20 years. Fast forward, now we've created financial freedom, we've grown our portfolios, we're in a point of like full freedom of choice. I mean, we spoke about this earlier. I spent the first 6 months of this year with my wife traveling all over the world. So we really are truly living a freedom lifestyle. And it's so exciting to be in this position. I think that it would be like dishonest of me, or I wouldn't be like honorable or living my duty if I wasn't passing this on and opening up this possibility for other people to join us. So that's really where I'm at.
Yeah, I pinch myself every day that I work for myself. Like I worked for many years in the corporate hustle and hated the rat race, and now it's a different challenge. I'm building a company. I'm building an empire, I guess you could say. But I still really want to have that life by design. Like my business partner and I are very conscious of how we grow. Like the old saying is, if we need a HR department, we're done growing. You know what I mean? Like it's you want to be. You can have a lifestyle business or you can have a corporation, and it's really intentional about how you do that. I'm here all week hanging out with Bryce and just hanging out in Nashville because I can. Yeah. And as long as I've got internet, I'm working, right? And I'm about to go to New York for 10 days because I can, and I'm just going to live remotely in New York, even though I live in LA. I'm just going to New York and having an Airbnb and like, sweet. This is a lifestyle I'm bringing. But it also comes with other challenges of how do you inspire new employees to hustle as hard as you hustle, right? And how to instill mission and culture and all that sort of stuff. That I'm now a business owner, so how do I do that? How do I get my property management team to hustle as hard as think like an entrepreneur and all that sort of stuff? So it's different challenges, but awesome at the same time. And my biggest thing is that I'm just enjoying the journey. Like I've been learning to try and be more present and really just know that I don't have to rush through life. Like live my life now. And that's what we're both trying to do.
The quality of our problems these days are pretty cool.
They are. Bigger, because we're now managing millions and millions of dollars, but they're different.
How many people would wish to be solving the problems that you get to deal with and solve, right?
Sure, but like anything, like the problem that we both faced with, I needed to solve when I moved to the country, I need to get a job. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Okay. Next step. Next door opens. And I think the biggest thing, and back to your thing, what advice do I have to people is like, my whole 10-year horizon is out the door. I don't do that anymore. I don't think like that anymore. I've maybe started a little bit off from a family point of view, but I've learned that if I can hustle in the next 2 years and have doors open for me and be malleable enough to walk through those doors and accept the opportunity that comes to me, getting blinders off, then I don't care what happens in 10 years because I know it's just going to be an awesome 10 years, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's like, it's just, the opportunity comes up. Don't be like, oh, I need to be here by the time I'm 45. Screw that. Like work as hard as you can, see what doors open, go into it, lean into it, and enjoy life at the same time. So.
We've definitely gained a lot more clarity on what's important to us.
100%.
In the beginning, it starts off as a wealth thing. It's like, want to generate wealth, want to get financially free. And then once you do that, it opens you up to different areas of your life and looking at relationships and freedom and travel and all these things that are important. So I think we have a really, really good idea of exactly what we want out of life, and we just expand on that.
Yeah. Question, and feel free to not answer it or whatnot. I know you guys are both married, and just wondering.
Not together. Separately.
Good clarification. Clarification. So I know each of you have been married and you have your respective better halves or whatnot. I'm just wondering if there's been anything that you all have gleaned from going through the entrepreneurial journey with your wife, and if part of that question is, are they involved in the business? Because in
the beginning, I just totally obsessed with real estate, and like that's literally all I talked about. And then, so at the end of the day, my wife, Tiff, she would just like, can you just please stop? Can you just please, like, we're at dinner. Can you just like, please stop talking about real estate? But I got
and
past.
Have you though? I'm wondering, have you stopped talking, or is it still always coming up?
So now it comes up in a different way. So yes, she's involved in real estate. She's built her own empire. We also do things together. So we've done a lot of this journey together, not only just real estate, but a lot of the self-development stuff to get us there. But now we get excited on certain things, and we have a good balance in our life. Obviously we had a good travel balance. We just spent like 6 months traveling the world. That was great for our marriage. And we have a balance in life to do the things we want to do. And now, when it's the right time, we talk about real estate a lot because we're in a position where we've got a lot of decisions to make, and we've got a lot of exciting opportunities that face us. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to go this way? Are we going to go that way? Are we going to build this? Are we going to build that? What are we going to do with this money? Sell that property and all that kind of stuff. So we talk about it a lot, but it's we know it's like, okay, business time now, and then business time stops. And it's actually a fun process. Where in the beginning, especially from her perspective, it was like, oh my God, would you just like stop? But we've found the perfect harmony and balance in that. And so it's been a great journey, and we've grown through the whole process.
Mate, 100%. I was exactly the same way, like real estate. My wife's like, shut up, like stop talking about it. But I know personally, she's told me that a couple of her friends and myself, she'd seen success in what we were doing, and she has a whole different mindset around money, and she's changing that, seeing us be successful. And that's inspired her. And I know she told me many times, she's like, I didn't even realize that I could have been an entrepreneur. Now she's an entrepreneur. She has her own interior design company, does a really awesome job. She's not involved in my day today just because, but she works for herself now. And I like Bryce and Tiff, I hope to emulate something similar in the future of how that we help each other. But we do help each other every day because she's my rock and she's a sounding board to me, and she's been there through thick and thin. And it's been, I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like it hasn't not been rough. It has been sometimes because you do work full time, you do try to hustle on the weekends and after work, and there has to be an end in sight. But knowing what that end is and being clear on goals and trying to understand when, to Bryce's point, like when work is over, like it's over and you're present with them to build that life and that family and that relationship, because it is important. Because being successful means that you're not just successful in just one aspect, which is business. Like, are you successful in family? Are you successful with your health? Are you successful in love? And they are, being successful across all assets, or facets, I should say, aspects of life is hugely important. And some people, you see these billionaires and to the point of work on the super yachts, like, are they really successful in cross? Like, they might be really successful in business life, but they have a crappy marriage. Their kids hate them. That's not success in my mind, and having those across all aspects is really important. So.
I think the key to that too is having alignment with your partner and actually like goal setting together. Yeah. Because in the beginning, like our end goal looked the same. Okay, for Tiff and I, it looked the same, except the way that I wanted to go there and the way she wanted to get there, there were two completely different ways. And so she's a very in-the-moment kind of person, and I'm a little bit like thinking forward. And so that clashed a lot as we were going. But now, over the years, where we do all our goals together, and now we've actually, so I've got my goals, she's got her goals, and then we do our goals together. And I think that's huge, because otherwise you're kind of like swimming upstream. Right. And you're just never going to win if you don't have harmony there.
Yeah. Not everyone's in the boat, right? You're not rowing in the same direction. I think that's awesome. That's cool, man.
That's a good analogy, yeah. Well, man, thank you guys for sharing that. I think it's a conversation that doesn't get talked about super often. I don't think I've ever asked that question before, and I'm like wondering why I haven't. I think probably will so again in the future. So thank you all for sharing that. Do you guys want to just share a little bit about what you guys are doing with the 10,000 miles to the American dream, and kind of why you are so excited about this, and what you're doing with it over the next couple of months or years? It'd be awesome to hear.
Yeah, I mean, look at the life we get to live now. Yeah. We just spoke about that, and we really want people to be able to live this life as well. I mean, I didn't know this was possible. Now it's possible. Have a look, and we just want to share it with you. I think the biggest message we have is if some blokes like us and the rest of the crew can come over here and travel 10,000 miles to be able to create financial freedom and live this kind of lifestyle, like, there's a freaking gold mine under Americans' feet right here, and we want to like shake people up and let people know, hey, like, this is how we did it. It would be even easier for you guys to do it. Because we had to like literally start from scratch, even with our language in the beginning. Yeah. So where the book's here, come join us, read it. You can buy it on Amazon. You can also reach us at realestatemates.com. And we're also discussing or working on live events and mastermind group, and really how can we, hold the best context and container for a lot of people that really want to benefit from this.
Yeah, awesome.
I think that's you said it all. Yeah, we're trying to roll out a few things the next year or two, but the books are sort of the jumping off point, the launching pad. Learn a little bit about us and our stories, and if you like us, come say g'day and check out what we're doing over at realestatemates.com. So yeah.
Well, personally, big fan of the book, so thank you guys for putting it together. Any parting words about anything that we chatted about, or anything I should have asked that I didn't?
It's been emotional, mate.
Back yourself. Like people listening to this and they're, I can't do it. It's as simple as putting one foot in front of the other. Don't run your own race. Don't look across the shoulder and see what else everyone else is doing. Right. If you're very clear with your goals, like both Bryce and I and our families are, just surround yourself with the right type of people, and you'll get there. So.
Take action too. If you're like watching this and you've been thinking about investing for a while, like start now. Like, just do the first step. Like, we didn't perfect anything when we started. We just went out there and just sort of took action, and taking action is way better than perfection. So get started.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you all enjoyed this show, if you've enjoyed the show in general, as always, a rating, a review would be much appreciated. And one quick reminder for everybody, if you guys are tuning in, you know that we've kind of switched around the way we've been doing our meetups, and we're not doing monthly meetups anymore. And we kind of are switching to doing, 4, 5, 6 a year, and just focusing on having some really good speakers there and just switching up the format a little bit. We're having our first one under this new format at the end of October with Jim Hitt from American IRA. We're going to be talking about creative financing, boosting your IRA, and house hacking. So if any of those topics are interesting to you and you want to talk to a local expert about it, hope to see you all there. Just check the website or our Facebook page for more information. All right, y'all, see you next Tuesday. Thank you.